Okay, so now we are live in our Facebook group. For those of you just joining us, we just listened as a group to the Indiari. It's a song called I Am Light, and I highly recommend downloading it, purchasing it, putting it on your Spotify playlist. Beautiful, beautiful prayer. No truer words could be spoken. Um, and she does it so exquisitely. So we're going to talk about why we why I chose to play that song today, what we're talking about today. The work we're going to do this week is about being generous. It's about giving of ourself. It's about sharing. I pulled a card actually today from this Gabby Bernstein deck, and the card says, my super attractor power comes from how I feel, my faith and love, and the joy that I put out. And so being generous and showing up is really, really how we manifest so much abundance in our life in every way, from love to every other form of love that comes in different ways, different energies, different connections. Um, but when you were listening to the song, I Am Light, I just want to ask you, since I had you write it down, what were you thinking? What came up? What was the feeling? For me, that song just makes me cry. It just washes over me and just comes in. Tears of knowing who I am, acceptance, grace. What else makes me feel lighter? Peace. We are light workers. We can fill people up. Yes, I am possible. I am light, soft and true. I felt joy. It brought me lightness, redemption. Yeah, yeah, beautiful. I think what I feel sometimes, I feel all of those things, all of those things. I'm not my body. Yeah, worthy. Um, yes, reassurance. We are the light and impact. Yeah, all these things are so beautiful. I relate to all of these things. I think I also can feel sort of this moment of where the resistance to that idea meets the awakening of that truth, where the resistance, where you've been holding on to a part of you that didn't know that, or that wasn't sure of that, or that didn't give yourself full permission to embody that which you are. And and yeah, I mean, it's just really true, right? I am light. Like at the core of our energy, when we are in alignment, we we vibrate at the highest, fastest vibration, which is love. Love vibrates so fast that you can't even measure it. It's beyond the speed of light. And when Joe Dispenza finishes a workshop, he always says, I'll see you in the frequency of love. I'll meet you there. And what he means is that in the quantum, when we can tap into the flow of a certain energy, we're not divided anymore by space or time. So he says, I'll meet you there. So when you're there, I'll be there. I'll meet you in love. I'll meet you in that vibration. And that's what we are. And so when we're in alignment, when we're in coherence, it really is an open heart. And whether we're channeling our masculine or our feminine, because we all have both of those, when those are in balance, they both begin and end with an open heart. And so that feeling of being love, of being light, it allows everything to flow. And and that's really the root of all of this, right? The root of all of this is stepping into that. And so it's the knowing that you are made of the same magic that the mountains are made of. You are made of the same magic that the sun is made of. You are made of the same magic that the moon is made of. You are light. You are made of that. That is it. Like we are these beings that hold love and energy, right? We are having a somewhat physical experience, but we are very much not that. And so that's where our imagination and our enthusiasm and our passion and our compassion, they make up the entire story, don't they? Right? Like those are the resources that help us to create things, to connect with other people, to build worlds, right? So this week, we're going to do it in two ways. In a couple minutes, Melissa's going to talk to you about a piece of building your business that you're going to learn how to do in a tangible way. Okay. And we're also going to talk about it right now, before we go into that, in a more esoteric feeling way, which will allow you room to do this from a place that's not complicated. So I'm going to explain what I mean. First of all, it is all about being generous, right? So Jordan Harbinger was on my podcast and he said he loves this idea of ABG, always be generous. And so he said he always has coffee time, meaning like there's always time where you're waiting in line at Starbucks, or there's other times where you're waiting for something. And he calls that like coffee time. Like there's a few minutes in every day where you wind up waiting for something. And he says, instead of waiting, I use that time to check in with people, to be generous, right? So what we understand about psychology and the way that people work, right? And this goes to building a business, this goes to sales, this goes to creating an audience, is that we have to make roughly 7 deposits for every withdrawal, right? In order to receive, right? We want to first have built so much and deposited so much. Like if you're tilling the earth, you're farming the land, right? In order for you to reap from the land this beautiful tomato, you first want to pour into this land, right? You want to plant seeds and then tend to it, nourish it, water it, right? And compost it. And then what happens as a beautiful organic outgrowth is literally an outgrowth. You get to receive from this land, this beautiful peach or this plum or whatever it is. So we want to pour into the world. We want to pour into other people. When Morgan Harper Nichols was on my podcast, we talked about her beautiful platform, Type of One. If you know Morgan's work, she's incredible. She's such a light, right? Such a light, so powerful. So she said to me that one of the things that keeps her so grounded since the beginning, whether she had 1,000 people in her audience or 1,000,000 people in her audience, since the beginning, a couple times a week, she would sit down and write something or draw something. Those are the two things that she actually writes music too, but two of the things that she loves to do are to draw, to illustrate, and also to write words and poetry. And she said, twice a week, Kath, I sit down and I draw something for someone and I put it in an envelope with a stamp and I give it to someone so that by the end of the week, I'm not forgetting why I do this in the first place. I do this to make that transaction of this thing that's in my heart because I want to give it away. The reward for giving away our light is the giving away of the light, right? If we wind up being able to see that that leads us to a way that we can do this full time, I think that that's the ultimate gift. But when you ask someone, why do you love that you have a business that you get to design art all day long or blow glass or play the guitar, they'll say, so that I can just play the guitar and I don't have to do anything else. It keeps going back to, because I want to be able to give this, do this, pour this out into the world. I want to sit at the potter's wheel. I want to do this. And if you ask most people, they'll say, and the best part is when somebody received it. Somebody appreciated it. I saw the face that somebody made when they read this book, when they showed up to the play, when they ate those cookies, when they did the workshop with their daughter. That's where it's sort of like the completion of that cycle is giving and then know that it was received. You know, it doesn't feel good sometimes when you give someone a compliment, they go, nah. It's always a better feeling when you say to someone, you look so alive. You look so awake. You look so beautiful. And the person goes, thank you. And you're like, message received, right? It's like when you send an email and you know, like it's been received versus it's sitting in your outbox and you're like, I just want to get it out. I don't want it sitting in that spinning wheel. I want to put it out in the world. I was talking to Dr. Phil. He's on today's episode. And we were talking about We're talking about when people feel lonely or people don't feel worthy or people don't feel all the higher vibrations of things that they want to feel. And I said, what do we do with that? And his response was, whatever the shape is of the emptiness, whatever the size is of the loneliness, whatever the feeling is that's missing, give it away. Give away that which you want more of, and you will see it magnified in your own life. So he said, if you're feeling lonely, walk over to a neighbor and leave a note that says, if you ever feel lonely and want to talk to someone, I'll be here. If you're ever feeling like you're the only kid in school that nobody likes, walk over to another kid who looks like they don't have that, much going on, and just let them know that you accept them, right? And it's amazing what that does. So generosity is the path, right? I said yesterday in the Sacred Sunday that we were talking about feeling our feelings and how it's really not the feelings that hurt us, it's the stories about the feelings. But that the medicine for the pain is the pain itself, right? Feeling the pain is actually the medicine for the pain. And that's when things start to be like an alchemist, things start to like change and move. And it's the same thing with abundance, right? If we want abundance, if we give away, right? If we start to share before we're asked, before we're waiting for somebody to ask us, it's amazing what just starts to flow. I was talking to Sid and Shay McGee from Dream Home Makeover on the podcast a few weeks ago, and I said to them, so how did you begin this show that you do? And she said, well, we went to HGTV and they were not interested. And we said, you know what, we'll just do it anyway. And we'll be so good they can't ignore us. We'll just start giving it away for free, right? And I had tried to get a book deal about a year before my podcast, and I wrote to people and did all the things, and nobody was interested. And I started a podcast and built an audience. And 3 weeks later, I was offered 6 book deals from the 6 biggest publishing companies in the world. HarperCollins and Macmillan and Random House. I had all these book deal offers, 6-figure offers from just building a thing, just going and giving it away for free, right? Ryan Holiday said to me, you know why my book was a bestseller? Because before the book came out, I had been doing a daily blog post, which means if you added up the daily blog posts, I had like given away the amount of a whole book for free before I actually had a book that I was selling, which is why then it was a New York Times bestseller, because I planted the seeds and gave and gave and gave. So very often people say, well, I don't know why this isn't working. I'm putting out something that's high quality and I'm doing all the things and nobody's interested. It's like, well, there's not a runway that's being built, right? We need to understand that the cost of people's attention is actually a lot to ask. There's a lot of places to put our attention, right? There's a lot of stuff coming at us at all times in our lives, on the news, on social media. There's a ton of things to take our attention. So just the idea that somebody wants to give you their attention is a big gift. It's a big gift. And we, as a human species, we are self-involved. We are self-centered. We are that way. And that is okay. Instead of fighting that, let's just go with it for a second, right? So if we stand out because we are being generous, we are not asking for anything, we are just giving stuff away, you will be surprised at how that starts to fill up your heart, fill up your life, and fill up your business without you ever having to think about it. One of the things that I've heard said is to dig the well before you're thirsty. So very often in life, people are like, oh, I'm starting to look for this job and I really wish that so-and-so would give me a recommendation. So let me call this person. It's like, well, you haven't talked to that person in 3 years and now you're going to throw out an ask to that person. That's not really, it just doesn't feel good energetically, right? It's not really a match. And so oftentimes people wonder why there's not really a flow of abundance. And it's because you're not flowing with abundance, right? If you want to flow with abundance, be generous, like give it away. I can tell you that there's literally, other than like humans, right? I'm not going to give away my children, obviously. That's ridiculous. But there's nothing in my life, nothing that somebody could say like, I would love that I wouldn't offer, that they could just take it. Like, I've literally had the experience of standing with friends. This has happened multiple times, and they've said, I love your shoes. And I literally take off my shoes and give them my shoes. And it is so fun to do it. And it's a pleasure. And I've literally done it. I've done that at least 3 times. And they're always like, that's insane. I'm like, I really want you to have them. No, I am actually going to be happier now if you take these shoes than if I wear these shoes. Literally happens all the time. Yesterday, we had given my team Apple Watches, and the Apple Watch came in the mail. And my husband goes, "Oh my God, I love that. I love that." And I go, "You can have it." Literally, I was like, "You take it. You take the Apple Watch." Like, I don't feel this like I need this, all these things. I really, really don't. I do this also like a couple times a year. I just take all the stuff that I have in my closet and I just give it all away to I'll give some to friends. I'll give some to my daughter's friends. I'll give some to my cleaning lady. I'm like, she's like, you haven't even worn this. It's a leather jacket. I'm like, do you want it? Take it. I want you to have it. I'll be so happy if you have it. I don't put a lot of emphasis on things and stuff. I personally like the energetic reward better of the feeling of giving it away. I feel like it gives me much more than the t-shirt's going to give me. And I know somehow that there'll be another t-shirt if I need it, right? My friend Jenny is the same way. She is the one I mentioned to you. She started this incredible vegan Unreal Deli business. She went on Shark Tank. I remember standing at her house. I was like 17 years old. We've been friends since high school. And I'm like, I love your shirt. And she literally took off her shirt and was like, it's your shirt. And I wore it to sleep. It was like one of those cozy kind of t-shirts. I had that shirt for like 2 decades. And I would always be like, you literally handed me this shirt. So what does that look like? What does that mean, right? What does it mean to get in the habit of giving things away? And what are the real things to give away? What do people really, really need? They don't actually need that much. They don't need your perfect answer. They don't need you to give them the guidance that to fix everything. They need space. They need space so that you can hold a solid container, right? And just be in a state of an open heart and let them just swirl in their energy for a minute. Oh, that's such a gift to give people. That's a big gift. Sometimes they need, another way of saying that is like a sounding board. What else can you give away? Sometimes people just need to be reminded of something about themselves that's lovely, right? Like, we forget our own loveliness so often, and we are so lovely. And it's nice to remind people of things that are genuinely lovely about them. What else do people need? Think about it, right? So I actually we're going to do this in 2 parts. Like I said, one of the parts that we're going to do today is very rooted in a very simple way that people begin to build a business, which is to create a freebie. And we're going to talk about that today. But I wanted you to take a second first to do this in a more holistic way. So take out a pen and paper, and I want you to make a list of 10 things that you could literally give away, whether it's to your sister, to your neighbor, to your best friend, to your pen pal. What would be a list to just free write 10 things? Is it like that you could take a picture of something and text it? Is it that you could give them a compliment? Is it that you could write a poem and send it? Is it that you could make a batch of cookies and drop it off at your neighbor's house? Is it that you could take in the trash of your neighbor when you take in your trash next time? Like, make a list of 10 easy things that you could give away. You could also start to say, well, I love writing music, so I could give away a song. Like, I could write a song, or even if it's not that this person has it and it's only for them, but I could send someone a song I wrote, right? That makes me think of them. I could take a little 1-minute video just to say, hey, was thinking about you. Want to know how you are, right? With no agenda, no like, and I was just wondering if you could, I just had this question about, is it possible that no, like, I'm literally just checking in. I'm literally just letting you know that you being in the world, boy, does that make me happy, right? Or maybe you send them an article on something that you were just thinking about that made you think of them. Like, that they love a certain actor, or there was a certain thing from the Golden Globes or the Emmys or the Grammys, and you want to send them a video. Just take a second and make a list, a real quick list. Okay, so I want to show you a couple examples of this. So how many of you can type a 1 in the chat if you know my friend Susie Moore? She's amazing, by the way. She's such a great person to follow because she has such beautiful energy. Okay, cool. So a lot of you know her. So Susie's one of my best friends. And every few days, she sends me the most, it makes me cry to think about it. Every so often, it's pretty often, she sends me the most beautiful text. So like, this is one, I'll show you one from February 3rd, one from February 27th. I just scrolled back in the text. There's one from yesterday. There's like every few days. So she sends me this. Okay. It says, the sign of a beautiful person is that they always see the beauty in others. And she goes, she's like, she saw this in her, and she just wrote, this is you. Like, she just sends me that. Then February 27th, she wrote this out. She hand wrote this and she wrote, I'm doing so well. And she goes, for you, because she always wants me to leave notes for myself, reminding myself of how much I'm doing for the world, which is just so sweet. And then she sends me these notes all the time that say things like, she sent me yesterday because I'm seeing her on this Saturday. So she said, I'm just so happy that I get to see you in a few days. That's all. I love you. Have a beautiful Sunday. Like literally, like this is how she exists in the world. Do you know what that makes me want to do? First of all, it feels completely unconditional, and she is that way. But it makes me want to do everything I can for her. Like it just happens. It's just, and she never asked me for it. But then if she has something going on, I'm like, how can I support you? And she's like, no, you good. You support. I'm like, I have to, want to. My friend Neil Pasricha wrote a bunch of amazing books, 1,000 Awesome Things. He has a huge blog. You should follow him too. He's great. And I remember him reaching out to me and sending me this note that said, this is before I ever had him on the podcast. He's like, I love what you do. I love your podcast. And I just wanted to say, here's a list of 5 people who I think would be so good for your show. And I'd be happy to make those introductions for you. Let me know. And I was like, that's so nice of you. Yeah, I'd love to meet all of those people. And so then he like wrote, hey, so-and-so, this is Kathy. She's amazing. I'm such a big fan of hers. You guys should totally connect, which was just so generous. Of course, I had him on my show after that. I wanted to do that anyway. Then after we get off the call, he knew that my book was coming out and he'd already had a couple bestsellers. So he sends me a note and he's like, okay, here's 8 things I can do for you to help you with your book. He didn't need anything from me. He's like, do you know this person? Do you need a publicist? Have you thought about reaching out to the producer, Good Morning America? You should talk to Sandy, blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, these are the people who never have to worry about their bank accounts. They never have to worry about their following. They just don't, because they're so hooked in and wired into abundance. It is unbelievable. And when they're really genuine about it, that's another amazing thing. And I find that I naturally also am this way. I feel like it's okay, by the way, to say things about yourself and to appreciate those things about yourself. And so I'm always, if somebody is in any way that I can support or just be generous, I like to look for opportunities to do that. It feels so good. And I think that this is honestly one of the biggest ways that I've unintentionally grown a business, whatever, is by thinking about it. You know, something that you can do that's really beautiful. I have to give my sister credit because she told me that she does this on Saturday nights. She told me that Saturday nights come along and she makes a list of like 10 ways that she could help people. So she'll be like, so-and-so needs a job. I wonder who I could talk to. So-and-so needs to still find their soulmate. I wonder who I could set them up with. So-and-so needs a new blender. I remember she said that last time I was at her house and the thing broke. And then she literally does that on Monday, like or Saturday, on Sunday, before Monday rolls around, she like makes all those things happen the beginning of her week. Isn't that awesome? It's so awesome. It feels so good. The reward for it is literally, you want abundance. That's how you feel abundant. You want love and connection. That's how you feel love and connection. It just changes the way that you look at the world. It changes the way the world looks at you. And I don't know, you sort of write your destiny. So I wanted to take a second for you to do that right now. I want you to think of somebody in your life and pull out your phone, and with no agenda, I want you to send them just like a sweet thing, a compliment, a word, a really nice GIF, like anything that has literally no agenda. I don't want you to say, let's make plans for, whatever. You could do that later. I just want you to say, I was thinking about you and you're extraordinary. You don't, like, I want to make sure you knew today something. You could do what Susie did, and you could take a picture of something that makes you think of them. It doesn't even have to be the words I'm saying. Whatever feels good to you. I just want you to give away right now, all of us. How cool would this feel to do this together anyway, right? On this call right now, there's 428 of us here on Zoom. There's another, there's another like 56 of us on Facebook stream. So over 500 of us sending good into the world. And I will do it too. And if you want extra credit, do it for 2 people. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. Okay. And then we're going to work on our actual businessy freebie. And we're going to talk about that because that's also a great thing to do too. Okay. I'm going to do it too. So go. Everybody do it. Okay. 1 more minute. And if you've already done it, write in the chat when you're done, just say done if you've already done it. Yay. How good does that feel to do? Tell me how that feels now. Yes, it feels so good. And I saw a few of you already doing this, but tell us in the chat if you can remember a time where someone did something for you out of the blue, not because you earned it, not because you helped them move. Someone just sent you something or reached out to you, and how did that feel that somebody just showed up? How does it feel? Can you think of a time where somebody did that to you just completely out of the blue? Yeah, it's the best. Can you think of something that someone did and share with us in the chat? So yeah, I mentioned to you guys, anyone who saw the Allison Prince replay or was there live, she's so fantastic. She literally sent me flowers. And I have had friends in the podcasting space who send me flowers, and it means so much. And a lot of times they'll send it after I've been on their show and they want to handwrite a note, which is so nice. I'm not taking anything away from that. That is so thoughtful. Allison, though, literally sent me flowers out of the blue. I had talked to her like 3 weeks before. There was nothing lingering in the conversation. It wasn't like I was going through something. She like 3 weeks later just sends me flowers saying, you make such a difference in the world, and witnessing what you do, it brings tears to my eyes. And she sent me the most beautiful arrangement of Farm Girl fresh flowers. I was just bowled over. I'm like, who does that? Like, who does that? It's so, so nice. Okay. I'm just reading what you guys are writing. Yeah. It's so, so sweet. Jamie Kern Lima, she sent me not only did she send me a book, but before the book came out, it was like 10 months ago, she sent me a Barefoot Dreams blanket, which I think is like $170, just to say how much she appreciated a conversation that we had. And I was just like, what? Like, with a handwritten note, like, I'm like, no wonder this woman sold her company for $1 billion. Like, who even takes the time to handwrite a note and put it in a thing? Like, especially what billionaire does that and has the time or cares about people, right? So, in any case, yeah, I love it. You send people books. Someone texted me, we seen each other, letting me know it saved his life. Oh my God. Oh. Okay. Now, while we're on this call, if somebody writes back or you can tell that it made their day, update us. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to turn it over to Melissa, and we're going to talk about how we can make something that would be more, let's say, directly related to our business, even though all of this as a state of being is 100% related to our life and to our business. But Melissa, I'm going to turn it over to you.
I am so excited for today, because this is the premise of what my business is built on.
It's literally the birth of your business.
Yep. The birth of my business. It's called Compliment. And the whole premise is just to help people feel seen and heard. So I had jewelry in the box, but it wasn't even about the jewelry. It was about opening up and making somebody feel something. And when people would ask me all the time, what did you do to grow your business? What did you do to grow your email list? What did you do? What did you do? It was like, I just talked to people and told them what I thought about them, which was, I think that people are pretty interesting and awesome. So however we can cultivate that in whatever our industry is, whatever is the dream that we want to put out in the world, however we can cultivate that generosity of just being present to somebody and recognizing something, it's going to pay dividends in the end. And we're not even doing it because of that. We're doing it because that's how we want to be in the world. We want to be those people where when somebody is having a bad day, they think like, oh, she's such a light, or he's such a light. Like, I just want to be around you. That's who we want to embody. That's who we want to be in this world. So this week, what we're going to do is talk about it, a way to take that concept and that embodiment of generosity and just being that person in the world and make it tactical and give you some tools to infuse that generosity into your business. So it's a very spiritual concept, and we're going to take it also to, the brass tacks of what this looks like business-wise. So Ashley, as she always does, she's so reliable. She posted our workbook in the Facebook group. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to go and grab that. If not, I'm going to share my screen in a second, and you can just use paper and pen in front of you. But I want to start today by giving you a little bit of background information on something that's called OptIns. And we use the word opt-in interchangeably with the word freebie or the word lead magnet. So if you hear other internet marketers or people in business talking about lead magnets, opt-ins, freebies, know that they're essentially the same thing. It's basically what it is we give something away for free of value in exchange for somebody's email address. So they opt in to our offering or into like our swirl, into our thoughts. Okay. So let's first talk about the importance of an email list. It's actually super important to have an email list. It's also important to have a social media following if that's where you're showing up. But really, if you have no customer list, you have no customers. And if you have no customers, you don't have a business. So a really easy way, a simple way of gathering customers is by having access to their email. And the reason why email is so valuable is that since the widespread use of email, like, when people used to have AOL or I don't even know what like the first iteration, Yahoo, I guess people saw Yahoo, 25 years ago, let's say, email is essentially unchanged. Social media changes all the time. There's algorithms there, like people's accounts get deleted, and I don't want to cause any like widespread panic because you want your eggs in multiple baskets. But email is a transactional thing between two people. Even if it's scaled and you send out an email and it goes out to 1,000 people, it's still landing in one person's inbox and you get to talk directly to them. So having an email list is very important. And an opt-in is one way that you can collect emails. So we're going to talk about building opt-ins this week, especially for your brand. So if you can, I'm going to show you, let's see. Okay, so I'm in the workbook right now. So there's Kathy, always be generous, our people-centered framework. I'm rolling down. This is page, I've got to move this over. Page 3 shows where we're headed. And here's what opt-ins are. So we just talked about that. It's lead magnets, freebies, all called the same thing essentially. Okay, so I'm going to give you some examples of opt-ins. And I will, as you're just kind of looking through this list and as you're kind of thinking about this, I want you to think of your time online that you are already familiar with and think of like, oh yeah, when I bought that thing from Old Navy, I opted it. Now I'm on their email list and they email me all of the time, right? But what did they do to get my email address? Okay, so you may have seen some of these. You may have seen it on Kathy's website. You may have seen it on other websites that you've been So here are some general examples of opt-ins, regardless of your industry. So regardless of the thing that you're selling, you can do a quiz or some sort of assessment, like, answer these 5 questions and we'll match you up with your best like bra type. I've seen those on like, for like undergarment companies. It could be a free trial of something, a free membership, like with your email, you can join this like such and such thing. It could be discounts or coupons, access to a virtual or live event, an ebook or a PDF, an infographic, an access code to a video training series, or access to an audio file, like a guided meditation, for example, or a members only podcast episode. I've also included in the workbook on the next page, on page 5, product-based examples that are just specific to product-based businesses. Not to say that product-based businesses can't also do some of these things that are listed on page 4. But on the next page, you can offer something like free shipping or a free training on how to use this product. I actually bought this like hair curling iron thing that like puts these waves in your hair, and it looks like it's going to be really easy, but it's actually really difficult to use, and it comes out like my hair comes out looking like really not cute. And they have this upgrade where you can sign up for a product tutorial where somebody will get on Zoom with you and teach you like how to hold this curling iron thing, a 15-minute tutorial with a real person. How cool is that? That's like very innovative, right? A free trial of a certain product. Maybe it's like a sample of something. You might have a loyalty program or a VIP group where you offer flash sales or access to sales 24 hours before the public or something like that. Or a contest where you do a drawing for your goods or a gift card to your shop. Okay, so those are all examples of opt-ins. I want you to take your pen and paper and just off the top of your head, think about your time online. What have you ever put your email into in exchange for something that you valued? Can you think of a brand that you've opted into? Take 1 minute and jot down as many things as you can think of. You might even check it off on, if you've seen these in real life, you could check it off on pages 4 and 5.
And I just want to say, if you feel overwhelmed, and the reason you're feeling overwhelmed, let's say, is because in a traditional sense, you think that an opt-in has to be this very well thought out, intricate PDF that has like multiple levers and pulleys. It doesn't have to be that. I just wanted to say like a couple examples. My very first opt-in was for songwriters, and it was a list of the 10 myths that I believed songwriters had about how to make money in the music business. And it was just literally a list. It was literally, when I say a blank Google Doc, that was it. I didn't know enough to format it or whatever. I put it out in the world, and we're going to talk about the technical part. I promise you that if I can figure out, this was me 5 years ago on my own, it felt like learning Japanese. If I could figure out how to make a thing that people would get for giving me an email address in exchange for an email, I'd give them this. I know you can do it. We're going to show you how to set that up. Mm-hmm. But that was like the most simple thing. I literally wrote out the 10 things. Another version of an opt-in, though, it doesn't have to be a PDF of information. It could be that people give you their email address in exchange for the freebie, which is a 1-hour Zoom call you're doing with a group of people. Like that could be your freebie. Another huge opt-in for us is we do, and you don't have to do this right now, this would be sort of like the Kentucky Derby of like races. But we do a 5-day challenge, which is a freebie, right? It's a free 5-day workshop, but there's no like, oh, you're going to be given this like set of documents now. Like it doesn't have to be that. We've created other opt-ins. We did an episode with one of the directors of Etsy. So we took information from what she said and made an opt-in, which was what you need to know to get started on Etsy based on this conversation with this woman. We've done other opt-ins with like what you need to start a podcast. And we're literally like, right, like here's the microphone we use. Here's the, what we use to record. We use Zencaster at the time. Now we just use Zoom, but like you could do that. You could also make an opt-in be a 10% off coupon to the candles that you make. A freebie could also be like, in exchange for an email address, they get a sample of something, right? Like, you don't have to make this as complicated as it seems. It's not like all of a sudden you need some intricate, well written, well formatted, beautiful creation. It also could be that they opt in, which means that every Monday for the next 3 weeks, they get a video sent from you. And I'll tell you what, some of the videos that have done the best in terms of the open rate on my emails is when I literally take my phone and I take a video like this and I'm like, hey, so my kids are going crazy and here's what's blah, 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 blah. And I'm just kind of giving people an update, and I'll share one thing about whatever it is. You could take people with you on a journey where you're going to be reading a book and talking about how it's affecting you. Like, it can be anything. It can be anything in exchange for an email address. And I'll have you know that my very first opt-in, I put it out on Facebook with a link to it. And I created a Facebook ad for it. And by the way, we have Rick Mulready coming in to teach us Facebook ads in this program. He's literally like the best person at it. I didn't have him at the time, but I played around with it. And in 6 weeks, I had over 1,000 people download this freebie, this 10 myths that songwriters have about making money. And then I gave them that list of 1,000. I told them I was going to do a free webinar, which was a Kathy Heller webinar, meaning I didn't have any slides. Like, I didn't know how to make a slideshow. I just showed up and I spoke to them for an hour. And then at the end of that, I offered them my program, which was a $997, $1,000 program. So, and 147 people bought it. And I was just amazed. I was just amazed how that little process of like giving something away for free, which creates this know, like, and trust factor, then giving them another thing, which was an hour of my time, which was valuable, right? Like, I definitely showed up and poured into them and gave them stuff. They were like scribbling notes. This is so good. I learned so much. Thank you so much. And then made the offer. So we live in an abundant world where there's billions of people. And there will be people who are so grateful that you start putting stuff out there. So now we're going to go into the second piece of this, which I think will start answering a few more questions, but this just does not have to be complex. Like, take all of that out of it. People, by the way, almost appreciate when it's not so fancy, because the fancier it is, it kind of loses a little bit of the intimacy factor, which points to the trust factor. And I'll tell you what, like, intimacy is currency. So if you had to trade professional perfectness for intimacy and trust, that's too high a cost. Like, choose the intimacy and the trust every time, because people are so smart and they feel connected to people who aren't stuck in those details, but they're human and they're more there to offer their heart and their soul than anything else. That is so refreshing, and they will appreciate that. So if it's easier for you to say, cool, I'm going to listen to this next part of what Melissa says and show up this week to figure out the tech of how to collect emails and send a thing. And if it's easier just to figure that out and send a video I make on the spot, or an email letting people know that they can show up with me on Zoom, if that feels less overwhelming, do that. Let that be your opt-in. Or if you want to just send them a little note or a printable, it could be that you're an illustrator. The freebie is that they get something that they can just download. There's a million different things. They could get a video of you explaining how to do something. They could get a series of emails from you for 5 days that you can make up every day on the spot. You can literally play with this. Another question I want to answer is, a few of you were saying, I think I missed a step. Like, where do we put it off? Where do we put this? You don't need a website to put this out. Okay. You don't need a website. By the way, I have a website and I forget to talk about it. I forget to tell my team to update it. This is like a dinosaur. This is not going to be what is paramount in your life. First of all, you're going to learn how to build a landing page for your opt-in. You could then go to GoDaddy or whatever and buy the URL, myoptin, babycakes.com for $1.99. And then you can change that all the time and make a redirect to it however you want. You do not need a website. I wouldn't recommend having the faith in websites. Like, I'll build a website and then put everything on a website. Like, I don't think about my website ever. I barely go check it out. I don't even know if it's updated. Like, I don't even know if it's advertising something we did 6 years ago on there. Like, don't worry about your website. What I would do with an opt-in is I would share it with friends and family. Okay. So whoever is in your current network, if you make something that you think is a fun freebie, whether it's a sample of your granola or a cheat sheet on like the 3 things you need to know to get started knitting, or it's going to be a video of you talking about how to make slime with your kids, or whatever it's going to be, you share it with your friends and family in your network. How do you do that? Your Instagram is going to matter a lot, I would say. And we are going to spend a week talking just about how to connect on Instagram, how to build your social media, how to really make that an engaged, interactive situation. I would put it there. You have a spot in your Instagram where you have a link in bio. I would put your freebie as your link in bio. I would DM that freebie to at least 5 people by the end of the week. I would start to put it out there. I'd put it out on your Facebook page, on your personal Facebook page, just to start getting in the water. And once you do get to, we're one step at a time. Once we get to the point of the class where we're talking about Instagram more and we're talking about email more, and you're going to start to see it grows. Where energy goes, attention flows. The more you will spend time showing up on Instagram, we will show you how. Melissa's so good at this as well. We will show you how to ask questions, how to have process goals and progress goals. We will set a precedent for how you interact. Social media is about being social. You do not need to be on it all day long. I am definitely not on it all day long, but I spend a dedicated amount of time in the morning and in the evening on that social media. And you know what? If I'm not willing to do that, it's going to be hard to grow quickly and create visibility. So it's just we get to decide what we invest. We get to invest time or money, right? So if you want to invest your time, you're going to see that the rate of return just moves faster. And I think it's actually a great thing to do if you do it in a prescribed way where it feels like it's not coming off the rails and taking over your life. It for sure is not with me. I have like that, thing on my phone. It tells me how long I've been on social media. I have a very specific intention of what I do there every day. I want to have a few DMs. I want to have one interaction in my stories. These features are really important for the algorithm. And I want to have a call to action, a really easy to answer question in my feed. And I'm going to make sure that I, Kathy, not my team, responds to at least 5 people in my DMs and at least a few people. Why? A, to keep me close to my people. So I hear from you guys. I know who you are and I don't lose touch of who needs me and what they need. And also because I want to continuously be in the practice, right, of making that feel like a genuine, safe space to come. And then my team sometimes takes over in the DMs and she's like, Kathy's not here all the time. How can we support? Blah, 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 blah. Because I'm at a point where I literally couldn't answer everything. That would actually take me away from my whole business. But we can make it dedicated. So I would say use your Instagram, use your Facebook, use your friends and family network right now, and just start one baby step at a time. One half step at a time, right? I think we talked about this with Allison Prince. I loved when she goes, thank God when I started in my business and even till today, God never tells me a whole step. He only gives me a half a step of what to do next. Because if he gave me a whole step, I would just be overwhelmed. I just give up, right? Let's trust in the little half steps that we have to take. If I would have known the whole steps and 3 steps, I never would have created that first freebie. I would have felt so stupid. Thankfully, I didn't worry about the steps that I couldn't possibly take in the moment. I just took a messy step. Then I took another messy step. And I'm so grateful that I didn't know that webinars, I learned like a year later that webinars have a whole flow. They're about 80 slides. The first slide sets up the what, and the second slide sets up this. And then you go into the how. And I'm like, I'm so glad I never heard that because that would have freaked me out. So one baby step at a time. Okay. We want you to be starting to think about what could you give away? What could feel easy and light? And we want you to get that really simple initial text set up where there is a way to sign up with an email address in exchange for something of value, whatever that is. But yes, you can begin with the 28 people who follow you on Instagram, with your 409 Facebook friends, with your reaching out directly to 5 or 6 people who you think might like this, whatever this free thing is. And we're going to go from there. So what I just want to say to reduce the overwhelm is we're kind of going into 2 weeks of dealing with emails in some way. And being that that's the case, if this feels like so much, I would be, as a friend and a teacher and a coach, I would be satisfied if you started to play around with this week. And if you needed next week also to work your way into feeling really comfortable with emails, I will be satisfied if you, at the very least this week, built on what we're talking about today, giving something else away to a couple people. We've already talked about free offers and betas and things like that, but that's a constant train that we are on as humans, as people wanting to bring in abundance, as people wanting to build a business. So just like you did today with sending people love notes, if you could be available to play with, as hard as it could feel, the new language, the Japanese of building your MailChimp, okay? And whatever it's going to be, if you could just tolerate how uncomfortable it feels. I know it can feel uncomfortable. If you could just tolerate that this week, okay? And then next week, we will have this more in-depth conversation and we will talk about emails and building and nurturing lists so that by the time that week comes around, you may feel like you're excited even just to get these new best friends on the list itself. And that might be exciting enough to sort of get people to be a part of it. You'll understand it in a more comprehensive way. And I would love it if you just thought, what could the freebie be? Is there anything that I could give away, which is a tiny little taste of what it is that I'm doing? If you can go ahead and set up your opt-in this week, that's like, you get all the extra, the points. But if you're just willing to tolerate working on this a little bit, the rewards for it will be major, because there's a few things in business that we kind of have to just do them. Like, as much as they're like, oh, I wish I didn't have to do it that way, you do need to have a place where you can correspond with your people directly. Like Melissa said, I hope you didn't miss this part. That algorithm is gnarly. Okay. What it means is that when you post something on social media, there is a tiny fraction of people that even know that you posted. Not the case with your email. Not the case. Will they open it? Remains to be seen. Will they see it? 100% it gets put in their email box. They will see it. So we can then talk to you about how to write really cool out of the box kinds of subject lines and how to make it worth their while so that when they come on in there, there's like a cool 9-word email that's not businessy, that makes them feel like you do give a crap about, like, we're going to show you how to just be your best self. And you will like it, and you will see, like, I'm so glad that I did this. I have to say, we've gotten so soft, like as a generation. Our grandparents, like, they would like just put in their time, pay their dues, right? We have this thing where, like, if something makes us uncomfortable, we're just out. We're just done. And it sucks because we're paying the price for that. And I just want to say, as a business owner, I have to be uncomfortable quite a bit. Like, I have to be uncomfortable and tolerate being uncomfortable. I have to make a lot of content and I have to commit. Like, I have to commit. Once I say I'm putting out a show every day, I have to put out a show every day. When I say, like, Dr. Phil's going to be on the show and I feel uncomfortable and intimidated, I have to do it anyway. Oh, and by the way, my Zoom and my internet completely dropped during the Dr. Phil session, completely dropped, not for a minute, for like 7 to 8 minutes. I could not get power in my office. It was awesome. So that's not comfortable at all. And I just had to tolerate that, right? I have to tolerate showing up and putting myself out there. And I have to tolerate figuring out this stuff that I don't like. And I have to tolerate when people don't like me. And I have to tolerate when I like want to create content and I want to pull my hair out of my head. And I have to like come up with some, like, me, I don't want to make things pre-plan much at all, but I still have to have like some skeleton of it, and I have to come up with an idea. You have to be uncomfortable. And it's so worth it. It's so worth it. I think that the people who've loved us the most sometimes hurt us because they're like, oh my God, you tried out for the baseball team and you got rejected. Don't do it again. I love you. I don't want you to be uncomfortable. So we've taught ourselves, we've conditioned ourselves like not to be accountable, not to be uncomfortable. It's really okay. We can handle it. We've been through way more uncomfortable things than I promise you can. Buckle up, be really uncomfortable, get yourself a treat like a donut or something you never let yourself eat, and sit down and just show up for figuring out the tech on this thing. I know it's not fun, but you can do it. And then once you do it, you don't have to worry about it ever again. So let's push through. And I just want to ground this. I want to ground this in what we started with, right? We started, first of all, for those of you who are on Zoom, we started with listening to India Arie, the song I Am Light, right? We started with the basic, which is we are here to be giving light, love to the world and receiving it, and just be part of that open-hearted flow of the best vibration that this universe has to offer, like giving it out and bringing it in, and just allowing ourselves to be a channel for that, right? And then we went into, let's just not overthink it, and let's send somebody right now a message. Let's give of ourselves to somebody. And it felt good. Then we started talking about how we can start to give things in our business, and you can feel there's more of a tension all of a sudden. There's more of a frown all of a sudden. The jaw gets tight. It's like, let's just notice that for a second. It's like, what does that mean? All of a sudden I go to think about doing this. Is there a weight of having to do it a certain way? Just without judgment, just notice that. Is that all of a sudden I'm feeling like I'm not good enough? I can't measure up. I can't make something valuable. If I'm giving someone love, I could do that, but I can't make something valuable, even if it's for free. Like, just notice that. That's really interesting because I want to shake that off. And the way that we're going to continue to shake that off is by just being aware of that. And another thing that we're going to do is go back to the assignment, which we started with at the beginning of this call. At the end of the day, what I want you to do, the whole point of this is for you to get in the habit of making deposits, of being in that energetic alignment where you are just giving, and people in this world are feeling touched and lit up because of how you show up. That's it. So by the end of this week, regardless if you make a freebie, regardless if you set up an opt-in, remember, we're giving you a freebie in and of itself, no pun intended, because next week we're working on emails. So regardless of whether you get that done, which would be great if you did, but even if you didn't, I would like you to think of one thing that you will be able to give away by Friday. I'm talking simple. I'm talking it could be a copy of a Mary Oliver poem that you send to somebody in the mail with a note and a stamp. I'm saying that it could literally be a picture of a tree that's so beautiful and you send it to your friend with a note that she's strong like this. I want you to think of one thing that you can give, and I'd like it to be something, if it could be something that's related to what you love doing, to what you love sharing, to what you love giving. It doesn't have to be exact. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it would be so cool if you could keep this momentum going. It feels good to give, and it feels good not to overthink, and it feels good to reach out and connect with other people and make those deposits before they even need it, before you need anything from them. I want you to get in that habit. So can you think of something that might be a taste, a tiny, tiny thing that's a derivative in some way of what's lighting you up, what you're passionate about, that you could give? Could it be that you want to say to somebody, I'm here. Like, I just want to be here to hang out. If you need 10 minutes, someone to listen, I'll be here. If you want to send somebody, like I said, something, if you want to offer your neighbor one of your brownies that you're making to taste, just whatever it is. And what I think would be cool is if you guys could brainstorm that and share that by the end of the week.